There's a sound that doesn't come from the world. It comes from within it, beneath the noise, beneath the pretending, beneath the pace you tried to keep up with. It's the sound of purpose knocking when you thought you were done. When the divine call demands, it doesn't whisper, it disrupts. It doesn't negotiate with your comfort, it dismantles it. And you'll know it's God because nothing else has that kind of precision. He won't just touch what's broken, he'll start touching what's working too. Your routines, your plans, your peace. That's not really peace because when it's time, he doesn't ask for permission to rearrange your life. He simply begins the rearranging. You'll feel it as a restlessness that doesn't have words yet. The job you once thanked him for begins to feel too small. The relationships you prayed to keep start draining your breath. The spaces you used to fit in start feeling like borrowed air. That's when you know the divine call has shifted from invitation to demand. And every calling begins as a disturbance, not because God enjoys your discomfort, but because he refuses to let you stay where you were never meant to die. He shakes what's built on survival so that what's built on assignment can finally rise. You'll feel the tension between what's known and what's calling. That's divine pressure. Pressure that exposes where you've been shrinking, where you've been hiding, where you've been postponing obedience in the name of patience. And this is what most people don't tell you. The first sign that God is demanding your next level isn't opportunity, it's disruption. He lets the familiar crumble so you stop confusing it for fulfillment. He closes doors not because you failed, but because you finished. So if everything that used to make sense is suddenly falling apart, maybe it's not chaos. Instead, it's a calling. God will remove what you've outgrown before it removes you. When the divine call demands, it strips, not to punish you, but to purify your alignment. Because purpose can't sit on top of pretense. It requires truth as foundation. So he'll start touching your attachments. He'll touch that relationship you said you couldn't live without. He'll touch the identity you built from survival. He'll touch your ego or your pride, your timing, even your image, until all that's left is you, raw and real before him. Why, you might ask? Because the next level of your life cannot be carried by the mask of the last one. Every divine assignment requires a rebirth, and rebirths don't happen in comfort zones. You'll notice what you thought you needed to discover who you were always becoming. That's why obedience feels like grief sometimes. You're burying the version of you that couldn't go. But here's the truth: God never subtracts without multiplying later. The pruning isn't rejection, it's preparation. He's demanding you to step into your calling because time has caught up with your purpose. You've lingered long enough in what was only meant to teach you, not to keep you. And if you don't move, he'll move the ground beneath you, not to break you, but to wake you. At first, it feels like loss, but give it time. Loss always precedes alignment. What's being built is bigger than what's being removed. The divine will start sending confirmation in quiet ways. A stranger repeats a phrase you whispered in prayer. A door opens that logic can't explain. A peace shows up where fear used to live. That's not coincidence, that's orchestration. This is the moment obedience becomes power. When you stop asking, why me? And start asking, what now? Because God doesn't demand what he hasn't already equipped. When he calls you, it's never random, it's strategic. He sees who you can't yet see. He knows who needs what you carry. And if he's demanding you now, it's because someone's breakthrough is attached to your yes. You weren't chosen because you were ready. You were chosen because you were willing. And willingness is the only language that divine truly responds to. You might think he's asking too much, but he's not trying to drain you. He's trying to develop you. Every divine demand is proof of divine trust. He doesn't demand calling from the ones he's still chasing comfort. He demands it from the ones who can carry contradiction, from the ones who can stand in the middle of, I don't understand, and still move in obedience. That's when heaven takes notice. That's when divine timing activates. Because calling isn't about convenience, it's about captivity. He'll stretch you to show you how much more of him lives in you. And the moment you surrender, things you used to chase will start chasing you. Because alignment attracts what striving could never earn. He demands your calling when delay becomes disobedience, when staying silent starts hurting more than speaking truth, when shrinking begins to dishonor what he placed inside you. He'll let the distraction grow until you can't ignore it. He'll let comfort spoil until it feels like confinement. He'll let familiar turn foreign so you finally choose faith. That's when he says now, not because you figured it out, but because you've run out of excuses, because the world needs what he hid in you. And hiding it any longer would make you complicit in your own stagnation. So he disrupts, he demands, he declares. And suddenly, when what used to scare you now calls you forward, because the pain that once held you hostage becomes proof that you're evolving. And there's a moment when that quiet inside you starts to sound different. What used to soothe now irritates. What used to excite you now feels empty. And you can't explain it to anyone because on the outside, nothing looks wrong. But inside, something's moving, something's calling, something's demanding. When the divine call demands, it doesn't come politely. It rattles what's settled. It shows up in sleepless nights, in sudden questions that won't leave your spirit alone. You'll start replaying moments, wondering, is this all there is? Even when you have what you once prayed for. That's the first knock. The divine doesn't announce, it disturbs. Because you could stay comfortable, because if you could stay comfortable, you'd never step into the reason you were created. So he sends that inner unrest as a mercy. You think it's discomfort, but it's direction. It's heaven saying, you've outgrown this layer. It's time for the next. And when you ignore it, he'll turn the volume up. The conversations you used to tolerate will start to feel heavier. The same spaces that once felt warm will start to suffocate you. That's not rejection, it's revelation. You're realizing your spirit can't shrink anymore. You'll start noticing signs everywhere. Random phrases, timing, numbers, songs, conversations that confirm what your soul already knows. You're being summoned, and no matter how far you run, the call won't stop echoing. Because purpose doesn't chase applause. Purpose chases alignment. And when your time comes, peace will become too expensive to fake. That's when you'll know the divine isn't inviting anymore. He's demanding. Every calling has a cost. And before you can walk in it, you have to pay in pieces of who you used to be. The divine begins to strip away everything that can't walk with you into purpose. The people, the patterns, the pride, all of it. At first it sounds cruel. And you'll say, God, why are you taking everything? And he'll whisper, because I'm making room. The stripping doesn't just take what's toxic. It takes what's comfortable, what's predictable, even what's good enough. Because good enough is the greatest enemy of greatness. He's not pruning you because he's disappointed. He's pruning you because he sees what's dormant. You'll lose your rhythm, your routines, and your certainty, but you'll gain your essence. You'll learn the difference between being busy and being built, between people liking you and heaven trusting you. And it'll hurt because the things he takes are the things you thought defined you. But he'll show you they were only disguises, costumes you wore to survive. And survival has an expiration date when you're called to purpose. So he'll take your safety nets, to prove you could always fly. He'll let things collapse so you finally stop holding them up. He'll let silence stretch long enough for you to hear yourself again. You'll cry, thinking it's punishment, but the stripping is sacred surgery. He's cutting away everything that kept you performing when he only asked you to just be. And when it's over, you'll look in the mirror, not at who you were, but at who you've been becoming all along. After the stripping will come the stillness. You won't recognize yourself. You won't even recognize your prayers. Because for the first time, you're not asking for things. You're asking for truth. That's when rebuilding begins. It doesn't start with success. It starts with surrender. You start forcing outcomes and start flowing in alignment. And for the first time in a long time, you breathe. The divine will begin pacing you where peace feels natural, not earned. Opportunities start finding you, not because you hustled harder, but because you healed deeper. People show up who speak your new language of truth. Doors open that don't require performance, only presence. You'll feel awkward at first because obedience feels foreign after a lifetime of control. But that's where transformation lives, in the awkwardness of becoming who you were always meant to be. And this is the secret no one tells you. Becoming doesn't make you feel powerful. It makes you feel real. Your armor comes off. Your honesty becomes your strength. Your boundaries becomes your protection. And your peace becomes your proof. The more obedient you become, the less explaining you owe. Because alignment speaks louder than apology ever could. So when you start walking different, talking different, moving different, that's not pride. That's purpose finally fitting your skin. When God demands something of you, it's because he trusts you with his reputation. He knows you can carry the weight of his message through your wounds. He's not punishing you. He's promoting you through pressure. But pressure exposes truth. When he demands your calling, he'll test your endurance in silence. You'll feel unseen, even forgotten. But that's where he builds your roots. Because if you can worship without applause, he can lead without ego. He'll let you be misunderstood. He'll let your name be mentioned in rooms you're not in. He'll let people question your transition, not to humiliate you, but to humble you. So when the platform comes, pride doesn't. Demand always precedes the debut. He's not taking from you, he's trusting you. Every test is proof that heaven believes in your capacity to carry purpose without collapsing. You'll be tempted to ask, why me? But if you listen closely, you'll hear him say, because you said yes when others said later. He's demanding you because you've proven you can walk even when the path isn't lit. The divine doesn't test to expose weakness. He tests to reveal strength. And when you realize that, the warfare starts to make sense. The delay starts to look like divine design because endurance builds evidence and evidence builds authority. There's a reason things didn't happen sooner. God's timing isn't slow, it's strategic. He hides you until the version of you that can carry the calling is born. You weren't being punished, you were being processed. He was aligning your inner life with your outer destiny. Because premature exposure can destroy purpose faster than rejection ever could. When it's time, everything sinks. You'll see why the closed doors had to stay closed. You'll understand why the betrayal had to happen. You'll thank him for the no you once cried over. He releases the demand when silence has done its work. When you can stand alone and not shrink. When your validation no longer depends on visibility. That's when he says now. And when he says now, nothing can delay it. No gossip, no fear, not even your own doubt. When God decides it's time, the very thing that resisted you start to recognize you. And the same rooms that once overlooked you now echo your name. Because purpose has perfect timing. It's always arriving on time, exactly when you've become the person who can sustain it. And then comes the threshold moment when everything you lost starts making sense, when what you were stripped of becomes what sets you free. You'll look back and realize the demand was never punishment, it was invitation. Every disruption was an usher, every disappointment was redirection. When the divine call demands is nothing, is not calling you to prove yourself. It's calling you to become yourself, to walk as the evidence of what obedience can build. So when he starts shaking what's familiar, don't beg for normal. Normal was never meant to hold you. Step through the disruption, walk through the uncertainty, because on the other side of obedience is your real life waiting to begin. When the divine demands, he's not testing your worth. He's awakening your witness. He's turning your wilderness into wisdom, your pain into power, your silence into sound. So don't wait for clarity to start. Start and clarity will meet you there, because purpose doesn't begin with comfort. It begins with courage. And the call never stops until you answer. Thank you for visiting my channel. Stay covered, stay conscious, stay undefeated. I'll see you on the next one.